Welcome to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Two sports talking sports with those in the know on the Brouhaha Show.
Welcome to December, everyone, and the Brouhaha. December is a great sports month, Dale, and I know you've been busy already with the Mississippi High School Activity Association Championship games this past weekend. Give us a general overview of what went down at the Rock this past weekend. You know, we'll hit on specifics in our final segment tonight, but how were the crowds and the flow and the excitement and such as that? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, listen, the weather was great for one thing. And the second is the crowds were very well. We had several teams down there this year that hadn't been there in a long time. You take the 6A game, you've got Brandon that's never won a state championship. You've got Madison Central's only won one. And 5A, of course, you had a couple people that had been there before in Picayune and West Point, but both of those brought great crowds. And the 4A, Columbia was playing for the first state championship. They hadn't won one since 1982. So when you have, and Senatobia hadn't won since 2004, so you have a lot of teams that's fans are very hungry.
Yes,
very hungry.
Crowds were big then.
And Bay Springs has never won a state championship, and they came around, and I think they had to close up Highway 15, get them down here.
That's awesome.
It was just a great weekend. The attendance was good. Saw some great players, and saw some heartbreaking moments during the things for some of the players, fumble here, a missed kick here, and of course everybody, that happens. But one play doesn't define a game or a season. A lot of times there's a lot of other plays in the game that that define the outcome of the game. But I think it was a great weekend.
I listened to it. I didn't make it, but I was able to listen to them on the radio, and the announcers, man, they were great, and it was like being there. It was a ton of fun listening to it. I can't imagine being there. This is the first ones I've missed in quite some time, and I hate I did that.
Yes, I just think it was a great weekend.
Well, listen, tell us about our guest tonight. Who have you got lined up for us to speak with?
Well, I have Johnny Mims, and Johnny is a Vicksburg native. His dad, a lot of people may remember his dad. I say a lot of people, but his dad was an All-American football player at Ole Miss back in the 50s, and Johnny played a little baseball at Ole Miss back there in the mid-70s. He played football over at Vicksburg High School. And so now he is the executive director of the Mississippi Association of Coaches. And so he's a separate organization from the Mississippi High School. And what they do is the coaches put on the AllStar games. Mississippi High School really doesn't put it on. It's the coaches. And so the coaches will have this Mississippi-Alabama game, and then they'll also have the following week in Gulfport the North-South game between Mississippi Senior All-Stars.
That's called the Bernard Blackwell Classic, is it
right,
not?
Right, yes. And Bernard Blackwell was I know he was the athletic director at Mississippi College for a long time, and I think he was over the Jackson Public Schools maybe as our athletic director for several years. So the Classic's after. And I think the North-South game, as they call it, started back in maybe the early 50s, and we've had some great players like Archie Manning, and people like that. That's just, Walter Payton got to play in it. Just great football players from past history in the Bernard Blackwell All-Star game.
It's good to know, and it's great if you're handy. You probably wouldn't be sorry if you stepped out there to see what was going on. Not at all. Listen, the Mississippi Association of Coaches is a big deal, of course, and when we're talking about high school sports in Mississippi, we're looking forward to speaking with Johnny. But first, let's hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be back with our guest, Johnny Mims of the Mississippi Association of Coaches, right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Welcome to the show, Coach Johnny Mims for the Mississippi Association of Coaches, the Executive Director. How you doing today, Johnny?
And I'm doing good, Dale. How are y'all doing down there?
We are doing great. Big week for you. A lot of work for you, huh?
Well, yes, sir, it is. I tell you, this work's been going on since about July, so I'm ready for it to get here. But it's a lot of planning that goes along with it, and we're excited about bringing the ball game to Mississippi this year.
Well, how does Mississippi perceive this game as far as, is everybody on board with this? These Hattiesburg, USM, I guess they've bought in on this game because this is about the third year that they've had it. Is that correct?
Well, Dale, we've never had the ball game in Mississippi, as you well know. In 2015 is when it was time to renew our contract, and we knew this was coming. So I kind of just went to them and said, "Hey guys, it's time for us to start rotating this game," and they didn't like the idea. In fact, for about 2 weeks I didn't know whether or not we were going to have a game or not, but I think they came through, and so this will be our fourth time. Is we played in 15, 17, 19, and of course this year. So this will be our fourth game here on an alternating basis, and obviously our coaches in our state and our fans and our players love the idea of it, and we thought Hattiesburg would be a great central location. And of course I went to the Hattiesburg mayor and Forest County supervisors, and they kind of jumped all on it. Didn't really know what it was at first, but after I had presentations with them, they realized the importance of the game to the state of Mississippi and all of the coaches throughout the state, and of course our football heritage in the state. They kind of jumped on board, and we've kind of made this our home site for our Mississippi-Alabama game, and we're tickled to be here. And Camp Shelby jumped on board to help house our young ones, and it is quite an expensive task to do this, but with the help of people like that, and of course a lot of other sponsors here, and just to name a few: Forest General Hospital, Southern Bone and Joint, Mississippi Power. I mean, I could go on, and I know I've left somebody out that I'm going to get in trouble, but they welcomed us with open arms, and it's just been a great success for our game.
What do you have a cost about maybe what it cost you, the Mississippi Association of Coaches, to put this game on?
Well, it's about $100,000 a week for us. I know it's kind of hard to believe, but when you're housing kids for 5 days and feeding them 3 meals a day and snacks and different outings we do with them at nighttime to do that, and software, and of course I could go on and on with what it takes to put this ball game on. That's about what it takes to do that, and of course I had a general idea, because Alabama had been doing this since the inception of the ball game, so they kind of knew about what it was, and kind of gave me a figure. And I'm laughing back at them now. I think I kind of doubted what it cost when they were telling me, and I couldn't really see it. But now that we've had the ball game and going into here, like I said, our fourth year, it's every bit of that if you do it right. And of course we want to try to do it right to make it a great experience, not only for our coaches that coach in the ball game, but for our players. It's just a big game for our players, and just fortunate enough to be able to pick it, which is hard to do. Picking 40 players in the state of Mississippi to represent Mississippi out of about 565, I think, applications or whatever that they turned in to pick from. Our coaches have quite a task to pick these players. It's a hard process, but they've been looking at film and talking to coaches and throughout the state, since July is when we pick our coaching staff. So it's quite a task to do that, but they always seem to get it right. And as you well know, there's probably always a few at the end that could be on this team, but unfortunately with the numbers and positions that we have to fill, we just have to go with whatever our coaching staff at the end feels like they can do have to put our best step forward to try to win this ball game.
Coach, this is Marshall Wood. I appreciate what all you do for sports and football and the various sports in Mississippi. I want to, we fans like this too. I mean, Mississippi and Alabama is a great rivalry, however you match them up, but we appreciate your efforts. Listen, you said this is the 4th year in a row. This contract that you're under now, is this a year-to-year contract, or how many years are represented in each of these contracts?
Well, it's ironic that you say this. This year coming up is the last year on our contract, and we're obviously going to talk this week with our Alabama officials to try to, keep it going and try to keep this thing going. I think they're pleased with what we do over here. I think they had some kind of reservations on whether or not we could put on an All-Star game and do it the right way, but I think we've shown and proved to them that we're going to treat them well, feed them well, house them well, and do everything we can to make it a great experience for them. So I don't see any reason that this contract won't be extended. But there again, nothing on black and white paper right now. But I'm probably 99.99% sure that we are just going to, redo the contract and just start all over with it. And I know they're having some feedback back in their state on, right now we're playing it at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery when we go there every other year, and I know that they've had some other cities to express interest on them, so they could possibly change venues. I don't know. Obviously, they know what they're doing in their state, but as far as I'm concerned, I think we're perfectly happy where we're at, and as long as we can continue to get us to support from our city and county officials down here to kind of keep this thing going. Perfect place for us to host a ball game. USM has been great to us too, letting us play at the Rock, and I think it's a perfect size stadium for our. And so I don't feature.
Wasn't at different locations, and maybe you could tell us about that in a second. But also, fans can they come and watch practice?
Yes, sir. We do have open practices. Of course, we don't allow them on the field. Probably a little bit more strict now with a lot of the media due to the COVID protocols that we had to put in last year. And we'd like to get past them, but just being on the safe side, we do allow them to come to practice. We don't allow them to be on the field. We do allow them to do interviews. Of course, they have to go through our administrative coaches to set up their interviews either before or after practice, and we're good with that. That's what it's all about, is trying to get publicity to these players and to the game. Fans you're talking about, yes, they're welcome to come. Obviously, they would be in the stands and to stay away, but yes, we encourage that. We love for that. Like I said, a lot of these players that are on this roster are ones you've been hearing about or reading about all year long, or maybe even saw this past weekend in our state championships down here. But yeah, we're excited about it. I know all of our coaches. The home run was for our coaches for the whole thing, and I know the players. It really doesn't matter where they play. We just thought it was a home run for our coaches in our state. For so many years, our coaches were having to go and support their kids over in the Mobile, Montgomery area when we had it there, and just to say that we can play it on Mississippi soil, it's just quite a accomplishment with us, and again, I'm just blessed to be able to have brought the game here, and blessed to be able to say that the city of Hattiesburg, Forest County has supported this ball game. Camp Shelby has supported the ball game. There again, I don't want to keep talking. I know y'all want to ask questions, but Camp Shelby has been over backwards to house our kids, and most people will say, well, gosh, you put those kids in barracks. I mean, how do they like that? Well, if you've ever been on Camp Shelby, you know better. I mean, it is a first class. They call it a high rise. I call it a motel. If I blindfolded you and took you in the high rise and took you in a room and took the blindfold out, you would think you were at a Holiday Inn or somewhere. It's just like a motel room. So we've been blessed, I can tell you.
Okay, how can people? What are the price of the tickets for the game, and how can they buy them, online or at the gate?
Well, yes, sir. The tickets are online now at our website, which is mscoaches.com. You can go on there and buy tickets. Or, of course, we will have tickets available at the gate. That's, we sell a lot of the parents of these kids and grandparents and stuff. Of course, they know about it because of the meetings and stuff we've had, leading up to this. So a lot of tickets have been purchased. But for some of the fans out there that just want to come see the best Alabama has to offer, the best Mississippi has to offer, you can buy them at the gate or online. And I would like to say this, Dale. We're in the first year we hosted this game here in 2015. Out of 40 players that we had, 4 years later, we had 4 of those players get drafted, not only in the NFL in the first round of the NFL, and we had 3 more get drafted in the same NFL draft, whether it was the second or third round. So, and then 2 years after that, we had another 3. So the quality of the talent that we have, and that's not to say what Alabama has, because they probably had every bit of that too. So, as you can tell, the level of competition, the speed gets faster. The game speeds up. But all these guys that we have are outstanding athletes, and really their first experience at the next level, because a lot of these players they'll be playing against or either with will be signing with Alabama or Auburn or Georgia or LSU or, of course, Southern Mississippi or Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and you name them. I mean, it's just a good mixture of talent.
Coach, listen, this is Marshall again. We sure do appreciate what you've done and your time today. Unfortunately, we're on a time schedule here, and we're running a little late. But, again, thank you for all you do for Mississippi and Mississippi sports. We greatly appreciate you. Right now, we're going to have to take a break, and then Dale and I will be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha right after these words from our sponsors.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Do you have any roof damage or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Welcome back, everybody. Dale, any closing thoughts on our discussion with Coach Mims before we move into something else?
Well, I just think the Mississippi Association of Coaches is a great organization, and these players, they take care of the players, and that's a good thing. And Gina Skelton's been a long-time member and has been the president and the past president of it.
Hall of Famer, right?
The Hall of Famer, definitely. And they do have the Hall of Fame ceremonies. They're the ones that induct the coaches, Mississippi high school coaches, into the Hall of Fame. So Mississippi Association of Coaches does a whole lot for the schools and the coaches, and we really appreciate them.
Is it a given? Is it a given that if you're a coach in high school sports in Mississippi that you are a member? Say, for example, our staff up here, are they members, or is it only head coaches or assistant coaches? Or
No, it's a membership. It's a fee every year, and most coaches get it because there's some benefits to it, like insurance and things like this. So, I would say most of the coaches belong to it.
Well, let's turn our attention to this weekend past and what went on over at the Rock with our championship games this week. I know you were there. Tell us about your role over there, Dale. What were you doing over there? Are you in an administrative function of some kind, or are you organizer? What do you do over there? I know you're busy doing something.
Well, I don't know. I picked up some garbage. I know you're laughing, but I did.
That's an important thing. I shouldn't laugh at that. I don't mean any
did.
harm. That's a big deal.
I was kind of lazy on between Mississippi High School and the media and the press box. I was kind of overseeing the press box. My job was when somebody came in.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Okay.
So I could have come over there and gotten in the press. You could have got me in the press box.
No, I wouldn't let you in.
Oh, geez, Dale.
Well, I guess you're considered media. I'd have had to, right?
Well, that's right. You'd have had to, dadgummit.
No,
But anyway, go ahead.
Usually you have to sign up ahead of time. You register through them, and so they come to the press box, and my job is to, like radio stations, sometimes don't know where they got to go. Coaches come in, and they're confused about what coach's booth they belong to. Just little things like that, but you're also answering a lot of questions. You're helping Mississippi High School, tell the school board operator, hey, we need to change this or that. And I work closely with the USM Sports Information staff. They do stats and stuff like that. And so, we have to name an MVP of the games and things of that nature. So I just have a little hand in all of that. Filmers have to come up there. You have to put them in a certain place. And there was public broadcasting was there for the state. And then there was a TV, outfit there. And then you have to make sure that they've got enough food. Sports writers eat a lot.
Yeah, I've seen
so
that.
So you're constantly, I need drinks, I need ice, I need food, So if food finally runs out, thank goodness, and then I don't have to worry about all that. But I don't really know if I do anything of significance. I just get people to where they're supposed to be.
Well, that sounds important to me. Listen, you got to be in the right spot. Just ask a football coach. If you're not in the right spot, you no good.
There you go.
Listen, how long have you been doing that? Because I remember when we went to Oxford in 2015 to play for the state championship, and I was blessed with the opportunity, K-Dog and I, to call that championship game. And we were in the press box. Man, that was super. That was really nice. And anyway, we've been in something that's not quite that nice. But anyway, we're up there, and I keep seeing you. I mean, even then, you were all over the place in that press box. Were you doing that there at that time?
I've probably been doing it since they moved to Jackson State. I think I'm doing it for a while.
Okay. I know they didn't come in this order, during the course of the championship week, but Bay Springs and Simmons, man, coming into this thing, I was really interested. You got Simmons had given up 4 points a game during the season and scored like 700 and something, and Bay Springs had given up 5 a game. I mean, I was sitting there, whoa, this is going to be some kind of war. It was, I think Simmons was up 12-8 at the half, and then of course you can tell us the rest of the story. How was that game?
Well, I think Coach Brady and the Bulldogs at Bay Springs felt like, we can play with these guys. And so he just told Anthony Ross, he said, I'm going to give you the ball, son, and you just go down and score a few,
Well, he did. Let's see, Ross, I believe he was the MVP. He had 220 rushing yards and 2 TDs. That's not a bad night.
No, it's not. It's not, especially in a state championship game.
We moved to 2A, and I'm going to say the word Scott Central. I remember when we had our show weeks back before the season, high school football season even started, we had Tyler Cleveland on here with SB Live, and one of the things he was talking about when you were asking him about teams that would be good, he mentioned Scott Central, and boy, was he right.
Yes, they were a really good team.
I'm seeing here where they played LaFleur County, and I don't know if LaFleur County had ever been to the state championships before.
No, they hadn't. They'd never been there. But I'm gonna tell you what, I looked over at that crowd. Most of those folks from around Greenwood.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what, they had a great crowd there supporting their kids, and they started out real good in the first quarter, and then they started making some mistakes, and it just snowballed from there.
I'm going to go ahead and give credit where credit's due. Some of these numbers I'm kicking out here are Tyler Cleveland's. Just so if you're listening, Tyler, I'm giving you credit for these numbers.
Well, he got those from the USM sports staff, too.
Well, okay. Well, it all goes uphill.
Yeah.
But anyway, listen to this. The Rebels, that's Scott Central, tied a Mississippi High School Activities Association championship record for margin of victory at 48. But listen to this. They set a new record for total points scored by one team. That's 72. They won 72-24. Now listen, Scott Central's got a sophomore quarterback named Quez Goss, is how I'm pronouncing that. He was 17-24 passing for 350 yards, 6 TDs. But wait a minute. That's not all. He had 103 yards rushing on 22 carries and 2 more touchdowns. What did that kid look like on the hoof?
Well, he was playing late in the fourth quarter, so you figure it out.
Okay. We talked about that run the score up thing a few weeks ago on our show here at Brouhaha, didn't we?
Well, that was a long game. That game lasted. It was the longest game in the whole weekend.
Well, now 3A, we're climbing the ladder. Jefferson Davis County. A lot of you may not recognize that football team as winning a bunch of championships, but if you realize that changed from Bassfield, business as usual for Coach Mancuso and company, huh, Dale? How'd they look?
Well, they look pretty good. Amory, they would have probably had to pass it every down to stay up with them because Jefferson Davis, they just get the ball and do their thing. And that was Coach's 9th state championship for him personally, and the 3rd in 5 years for that school. That school's 5 years old, and they've won 3 state championships. So they always do a great job. And so, going in, just looking at some of that stuff there, I didn't know. I knew Simmons was really good. I did ask the Taylorsville coach about if he thought Bay Springs, and he said, yep, I think Bay Springs can play with them, and they did. Everybody felt like Scott Central was going to win. Everybody felt like Jefferson Davis was going to win, too. And Amory hadn't been there since Bobby Hall days in 1998. So that's kind of the way it went.
You mentioned, Amory. I was listening to them. It sounded like their quarterback was pretty good, but they couldn't quite make quite as many connections as they needed to, losing 42-10. Demario Booth led the JDC charge with 205 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, so he had a big outing. Moving on up to 4A, we talked a little bit about Columbia. This was probably the game of the weekend up there, Dale. I mean, it was a 1-point ball game, was it not?
Oh, it was a heartbreaking game. It really was. I mean, it depends. I'm sure Columbia people are really excited. The only touchdown of the second half, which was the winning touchdown, came on a Senatobia was ahead by 7 points, maybe late in the third, early in the fourth quarter. And they're driving down there, and they got a great drive going. They get to about the 25 or 30-yard line, something like that. And all of a sudden, the running back is trying to make extra yards, and when he does, he happens to lose the ball. The Columbia boy picks it up and runs about, 75, 80 yards at the time. And so then when they get out there and make it 21-20, Columbia sends their extra point team, kicking team out on the field, and then Senatobia jumps offside, so Columbia says, okay, we're going to go for 2.
Oh, man.
So those were the 2 mistakes. But then Senatobia, who had an excellent receiver, their receiver scored 3 touchdowns on pass receptions, intercepted a pass, and punted for about a 50-yard average. And probably should have got the MVP if his team would have won. And so they drive back down and have a 1st and 10 at the 5. 1st and goal at the 5, but they lose a couple yards on the first play, and other things happen, and then the quarterback can't get a pass off on 3rd down. So all of a sudden, they've got a cheap shot field goal, and they had kicked 3 extra points during the day, and they bring the little kicker out, and he misses it wide, and there's like 22 seconds to go in the game, and you really had to feel for the kicker because it was a 1-point game at that time. Columbia was up, and so it was heartbreaking and things like that. But Columbia hadn't won a state championship since 1982, so you're looking at close to 40 years. That's as old as you are, Marshall. And
yeah, almost.
So you had to be a town for happy for the town of Columbia, and plus they're in South Mississippi here in the Pine Belt.
That will stick with that kid the rest of his life. I
actually said a little prayer for the boy after the game because it was heartbreaking to me.
I used to go to when they were in Jackson, I'd go every year and spend the week up there and watch all the games. And when they moved them to the campuses, I just kind of lost going all the time. But I'm going to tell you, if you'll go, it's not a bad way to invest in a weekend, because what you're saying there, you're seeing memories. They may not, they're somebody else's, but you won't forget these games. They stay with you. What a great recap, Dale. Listen, 5A, we're kind of getting slide on time here, but 5A, West Point, that name, that's a team that Wayne County has never beaten. But Picayune can say they beat them.
Yeah, Picayune just, they've got 3 really good running backs. In the past, Marshall, they might have had 1, and by late in the season, he's got a little tired legs and everything. Well, they had 3 fresh backs out there the other night. I promise you, they had a Mr. Inside and a mixture outside, and then there was one that could do both. And so and they've got probably one of the best running backs. And he's a junior, and he'll be back next year. He's like 6'1", 6'2", 205.
Oh, my goodness.
He's a good-looking kid. So Picayune will be around again.
Cody Stogner is head coach there, his second year at the Maroon Tide, and they win. They scored 6 on 6 of their first 8 possessions, so it was never in doubt.
No, he just ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball.
Yeah, we've seen that 1,000 times. It's like getting your teeth pulled and you can't do anything about it. Final one, 6A. Old Toby. The first championship for Madison Central since 1999. Toby Collins, who was here at one time at Wayne County, gets up there his first year at Madison Central. Is that correct?
Yes, first year, yeah. Him and the Brandon coach were both in their first year. And the thing about the Brandon coach, he's 30 years old and the head coach. And he played wide receiver at Mississippi State. But, I talked to him just a little bit after the game, Coach Collins. And, in 1993, he won a state championship as a running back for Smithville.
I did not. Listen at you go, man. That's why you're here, Dale.
He had a nickname from, I got it from a Tupelo sports writer. You know what his nickname in high school was?
No.
Touchdown Toby.
Touchdown Toby. Oh, boy, that's a good one.
So that's going to stick, Toby.
Well, on that one, listen, Dale, we're out of time. Listen, folks, we appreciate y'all listening. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook all week at the Brouhaha. And, again, we tell you, if there's things you would like to hear Dale and I discuss, let us know. Post it on there. We read it. We encourage you to do the same. That's about all the time we got tonight. So you know what time it is, Dale. It's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, everybody, and we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.